don't have any money to pay you guys, but at least let us buy drinks every time we go out. So those booze money.
I think you can
What's your question?
I would
So business cards. I think paid $30 to get some immediately, and they weren't like really fancy ones. Hey, welcome in. Grab a seat. So we just got some like really quickly, cheaply done business cards because there was a mistake with our artist. We were waiting on him, but turns out he was actually waiting on us. And so like I was like, hey man, how's it price? Like, dude, I've been waiting on you for 2 weeks. I'm like, oh crap. So we got our art like literally our company logo and stuff the weekend before. So we just had some quick business cards done, which was a great investment. I think we got like 1,000 business cards and we came home with 300. So again, company shirts are not $300, but when you have a 2-day turnaround, yes, they are $300.
Hey, Shrek.
Yes, Justin.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you take into account the raffle giveaways?
Oh yeah, I did not put that on here. So what we did at PAX South is each day we had a raffle at the end of the day at about 4:45. And the thing was, if you sign up for our mailing list, followed us on Facebook or Twitter, you get a raffle ticket. And at the end of the day, we draw a ticket, and if it's yours, you got a $20 Steam gift card. And that worked really well. We actually had like a good sizable turnout every day. And we got I think about 200 emails that way for our mailing list. Facebook and Twitter, we only got like a handful of that, but cell service in the expo hall was really bad, so a lot of people just weren't trying, which is fair enough. So that was another $60, but that was worth everybody for that, in my opinion. So this was how we set up the booth. So we were actually on a corner. There was the way the rows were set up is that you would have booths would be in a pair of 3, and so you have corner, middle, and corner. We were on the outer corner. This was our table, and I have a picture of this on the next slide. I just want to give the top-down layout. So we had a table right here, our 2 demo units, 2 chairs. We had our table we had a little signage, like a little advertising our game, talking about the raffle. We put that in the corner of our booth, and then we had the talent stand right here. The reason why we did that is because we had a line of people, and so people would line up, and the stand would act like a nice little gate. Now there's 3 of us there running the booth, Justin, Craig, and I. And we thought that was enough to have like people rotate in and out, kind of swap in duties. No, we needed 3 people all the time. Because just the way it turned out is when you have like the Oculus units, you kind of have to, a lot of people have never done it before, so you kind of have to help people get in and out. It's like the headset, controller, headphones, all that kind of shenanigans. And so at the same time, you'd have someone at the front of the line, which is normally Justin, who did an amazing job, getting people to, hey, wait in line for this, it's great. Someone at the end of the line, it's usually me, talking to people, engaging them. Another person was kind of free floating, which is what Craig and I would swap out doing. Because, excuse me, because when you go you try out PAX games, a lot of them are still kind of early development, so they're going little hijinks here and there. You'll see a lot of developers will, keep an eye on the games, tell people to get stuck. No exception for us. So we definitely have someone just keeping an eye on the demos, making sure everything's going smooth. So let's see. There we go. This is what actually looks like when it was all set up. And this is from that booth that had a table in it. So this is looking into the booth. So there was our banner. We hung it on the outside. We just used zip ties. Because you have a 10-foot wall behind it. One issue we ran into is our plan was to actually have the table be on the back wall. That way you're walking by our booth, you can look in and see people are playing. And that was not the case for us. They did not put our 2,000-watt power socket in the right place. And when we asked them about this, it's a tough one. They put it on the sidewall next to our neighbor, which is XDMPC. And so we had to put the table there. And that's one of the reasons it was kind of bad visibility, because people would walk by and they could see people waiting in line, they couldn't see what it was for. However, that's why we had with Justin or Craig or somebody in the line engaging people like he was able to talk to people like, hey, this is the thing we're working on. It's gonna be great. Come on, it's only just a short wait, give it a shot. So whenever we had someone swap out for like a lunch break or something, that was like the first position that I would have to get Blake, and then our line was getting really, really short.
It also looks like X Gamer PC's booth as well.
Yep. Now they actually they gave us that loaner unit, that white rig. So as soon as they posted the map, I called up our neighbors. So XDR PC was the middle booth, and they're a local store in San Antonio. They make high-end gaming rigs with pretty good prices too. And the booth at the end, which is just to the edge of it, that red part, that's Asking Envy Studios, another indie game then. So I called up XGamer PC. I was asking them because I was like, I get this is a gaming convention. What's a PC store doing here? And he's like, oh yeah, so we're showing off our rigs that people can buy, and they just can buy them right there at the convention. So I was like, hey, well, what if you made an extra unit for us to use? You can keep it back. We'll just advertise it. He's like, that's great. So he built this amazing computer. I don't know if I have a screenshot of it or not. I don't have a side screenshot of it. But it was this beautiful machine, and so it was just that way. It was one less computer we had to worry about because it was on site. It was like a monster of like GTX 980 liquid cooled computer. So this is actually standing in his booth taking a picture. The line actually continues past this guy to like right about here. That's a 30-minute wait. And so this was, I believe, when I think Justin was on his break, because it's just Craig and I manning the booth. You can see the line is actually starting to get a little bit shorter because we didn't have someone trying to engage people. And just because like when you have the headset and the headphones on, you can't really hear much of the outside world. So you have someone keeping an eye on, like to whisper in your ear if you got stuck. Whereas with the other games that you're not like locked in like that, you can just casually chat up. If we weren't doing Oculus style, we could probably get away with having less people at the booth. But every game is going to be different. And so this is I'm showing one at a huge expo, so a learning experience.
Are those sanitation wipes?
Yes, we wipe down the headsets after everyone uses them.
I didn't see it on the budget. I didn't line it up.
Oh, because I just pulled them out from underneath my kitchen sink. I mean, I think I bought. It's like I had like 3 of them, and we didn't even get through half of one. So you don't need to use like a brand new wipe for every person as long as it's wet and the alcohol is still active. So it's like one wipe would work 4 times and you got away. So it wasn't an issue. There's a lot of things I didn't count on here because like gas money and hotel, because we're going with other people who are going just as for fun. They weren't working the booth with us, so that kind of split the cost. So it wasn't really an accurate, number to give. Let's see. All right. So here's the tuning machine. It was glorious. And he basically said, yeah, tell people the price. They can go home with it this weekend if they want to. So the demo itself, we made ours as a 5-minute loop. As I mentioned earlier, is we wanted people to have enough time to actually get a feel for the game, but not so long the line was just forever. A few tricks we had. The way our demo was set up was that you put on the headset, we give it all this stuff, and then we said when you're ready, look straight ahead, pull both triggers. That would actually start a timer in the demo, as well as synchronize the Oculus sensors to the person's height. And once the 5 minutes were up, we would kick them out to another scene and say, hey, thanks for playing. And we would get them out of the headset, clean off, get the next person in. So we did have a few admin keys, though. So at the beginning of the day, since we're indies, we're not a big name, flashy booth with like 100-foot banners and stuff. We're in the back. What we actually had is that if people were playing, but no one was waiting in line, you push a button on the keyboard, and it would pause the timer at the 2-minute mark. That way, as soon as someone stepped in line, I go, hey, buddy, we got about 2 minutes, and you'll be up. Everyone has to wait in line, but jumping in line and knowing, hey, you're up in 2 minutes feels great. That being said, we really only had to use that once at the very beginning of the day. As soon as someone would get in line, the line would just build on its own. See, as I mentioned earlier, we had our own loaner rig plus the loaner. We had our own personal rig plus the loaner rig. That being said, there was no way for XGamer PC to get us that computer out to us in Memphis beforehand. So we brought a whole extra computer that we knew was going to work, just as a emergency failsafe. Because we didn't want to get to PAX and then just something weird happened and it just, we're stuck. Because once you're there, you're there. There's no more DIY, no more debugging. You're there. There's no internet. There's no self-service half the time. So now to that point, we did a dry run, but we did not use everything we planned to use. And that was bad. Because we did get there, and one of our DVI cables did not work. It wouldn't even fit the plug. It was some specialty DVI. It was mislabeled when I bought it. I didn't realize it. So luckily, we had I found one of my Oculus units had a spare HDMI to DVI converter, and we had originally brought a projector to use, but didn't use it. but we scavenged the HDMI out of that, and we were able to hook something up so it would work. It was fun. So I cannot stress enough, when you do a dry run, use everything and only what you're bringing with. Because it doesn't, like when we did our dry run, we used these DVIs here in the room. You know, that doesn't matter. We're not bringing those with us to PAX. So that's what screwed us over. So, like I already mentioned, you know, people are new to VR, so you have to give them assistance. The biggest thing that we found is, this is more of a game design thing. People are used to when they play games, you're just looking at a screen, you just look forward. We had built our games so that when the player's in a cockpit, there's actually like sensors and switches around them. And so the game would say, hey, look to your right and flip the switch, and they would rotate the ship to the right. And we're like, no, turn your head. They keep doing like, no, like physically turn your head. But that's just kind of, you know, that's just a cutting edge, new to VR kind of thing. So, but anytime you demo a game, you're going to have stuff that you think is really obvious, that when you like run it for a couple hundred people, you realize, no, that's not obvious at all. So, yeah, here's a better shot of the line that was like completely cool. You can see all three of us in action there. We did have a few problems we showed up. We got up, we were missing, like, we didn't have a trash can. We didn't have the power either. Like, our booth was missing power. And we only had one socket. We were supposed to have two, which was a 500 watt and 2000 watt. And we just had the one, and it wasn't labeled. And we didn't want to, like, risk it and blow it, because then that's another $200 to fix. So we had to like go and find the Freeman guys, and they were going to send over their electrician. We missed him, he missed us. Eventually it started out, and it's like, oh, it's this random, like, it looked like a crappy extension cord hanging out on the opposite side of our booth. So we're like, okay, thanks. We showed up one day, and one of our chairs was just gone. We had to go find a new one. I'm not going to say who stole it, but we did find that out. So another couple of issues is, as I mentioned, there was only three of us. We thought that would be enough to swap people out, but no. Next year, we're definitely going to try to get some more exhibitor badges. That way we can swap people out, because we really have to have 3 people at all times in our booth. Moving in and out was an issue, because only exhibitor badges are allowed. But you're allowed to get temporary passes for helpers when you're moving in and when you're moving out. Well, we didn't need them moving in. So on Sunday, we go to the Freeman. We asked our enforcers, like, hey, where do we move out badges for some more extra help? And they were like, oh, just go ask the Freeman people. And we go ask them, and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. And we're like, go ask the enforcers. And we're like, we go back to another enforcer. He's like, ask the Freeman people. They said, ask you guys. One second, I'll get my boss. The enforcers were amazing. He disappeared. We saw his boss come out, look very angry and all this stuff. After talking to the Freeman people, he's just like, here, just gave us more exhibitor badges. So the enforcers are great. The enforcers are there to help you, and they will go above and beyond. They are amazing. We don't realize that PAX, like you see enforcers everywhere. Enforcers are what they call volunteers. They run the show. They basically keep an eye on the lines. They just jokingly call them enforcers. There actually is an enforcer assigned to every aisle, and to like those 3 booths specifically. And like we have their cells, they have ours. And they have like a lot of authority to get and fix anything. So they're great. We did have one weird hardware issue with that. It was with that loaner PC that XDR PC gives. Not their fault. So we have kind of like a rule is like, when you're in the middle of the development cycle, do not update your drivers, do not update your engine. And the reason why is in November, on one of our rigs, we updated the drivers and the Oculus stopped working. So we rolled it back and it's like, all right, no one updated anything. We're going to stick with what we got. So we got there, and we're like, oh crap, he has the latest drivers. We forgot to tell him which version. It'll be fine. It works fine, except for one weird quirk. All the lights in our game were twice as bright. It completely, like, I never even knew that was a thing that could happen.
That was an operating issue?
It was a completely clean install. And the reason we think it was a driver issue, but because we literally took the code off his, we swapped monitors, we swapped headsets, we swapped everything. And it was just only on that one rig. It had the exact same graphics card that our loaner unit had. I mean, that our own personal unit had. So it wasn't the exact same hardware. When we talked to our friend JC from the other indie booth on our side, we were asking him, and he says, yeah, NVIDIA put out some graphics driver update, and it completely broke his game. he had to wait on a patch on Wednesday just to get his game up and running. So that's what we think was in the video thing. It wasn't game breaking. It was just like we had a dim light in the cockpit to give a little bit of a red glow, and it was like a red spot. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't gonna break the game or anything. It wouldn't make it unplayable. People didn't notice. We noticed because we've been working on it for 3 months. But whatever. At one point in the show, we did have this Oculus unit right here, which is actually my own personal one. This Oculus unit was a loaner from the dance, but my own personal one just decided it was done. It stopped working. The tracking was getting all glitchy, and then so we're like, all right, power cycle it and want to come back on. It decided it was done. So we're like, sorry guys, we're down to 1 unit. An hour later, we let it sit for an hour, completely powered off, powered it back on, worked fine. No idea what happened. We're looking around online, people think it was an overheating issue. Oh no. But that happened. Although, again, like there's visibility. This picture is kind of taken from the aisle. You can see just looking at our booth, you can't see what's going on. There's just people waiting in line for something. You can't. There's no gameplay pictures. We didn't really have anything else up. So the computers were facing away. You couldn't see what people were playing other than Oculus. So that was an issue. And that's why we really had to have someone manning the back of the line, which right here is Justin doing an awesome job. And getting people like wait, tell people what it was, and get people hyped up for it. Another just weird little quirk is where we were next to the center. We apparently were right underneath an AC, so we would come into like just dust everywhere, and all of our neighbors were having to get like dust cloths and wiper things on. Again, that's not breaking. It's just like we show up and just it looks like no one had been there in years. So like okay. Another issue at PAX. There's basically 4 types of badges. There's badges that just say guest, which is everyone. There's badges that say exhibitor, which is us. And then they have 2 other ones. There's both media or MED and special guest, SPG. And media is like IGN and Gamma Sutra and all the big name actual news companies. And SPG is like a special guest that were invited there for one reason or another. Usually those are the kinds of people that have like autograph booths in those lines. So this happened to us, and I talked to a lot of the other new developers, and this happened to them too. They had a couple of media people come up and ask, like, oh, we're from so-and-so, and we want to know if there's a way we can try it out without having to wait in line. And I've gone to a lot of PAXs. I've been there where I've gotten to the front of the line after waiting an hour and a half, and I'm just also a team of media people show up and skip all of us, which that just pisses me the hell off. However, at the same time, when you're an indie dev, you need that media exposure. So our compromise was like, all right, we'll make you an appointment. That was our solution. So what we did is I basically just do a quick count of how many people were in the line, do some like quick math, and say, all right, come back at 4:30. Give them a time. That way, it's the equivalent as if they had waited in line. That way, I can also manage a line, tell people like, all right. What I was doing is when I was working this station, I would tell people like, all right, you're up in 5 minutes. You got about 10. And now I can tell people like, all right, there was a reservation at this time, so you're about 10 minutes away. And people liked having that information of how much longer they had to wait. Because it's always a bummer when you're just in the middle of the line and you don't know if you're an hour away, 3 hours away, or 10 minutes away.
Yeah, there's always other panels you want to go to or something like that, so you need to know how much longer you're going to wait there.
Exactly. So I was able to do that. The one thing I will say happened, and again, this happened to a lot of other indie devs. Media people would come to skip the line, and that's it. They would just play the game and walk off. We would ask them like, hey, we're this and this. We'll introduce ourselves. They want to introduce them. Like we're supposed to know who they were. I'm like, I don't know who the hell you are. You just showed up and you have a badge that says that you're so important. And so we talked to a lot of indie devs, and that's what a lot happens. So you'll get people that are using this media badges or special guests just to skip lines when they want to wait. And so my advice, if that happens to you, figure out who they are, get their name, and while they're playing your game, take pictures, take like selfies with them, do all everything. That way, if they don't do anything for you, you post those pictures on like, look at this important person at our booth. He said our game was awesome. I mean, I can tell you, we know what we found out who it was who did it to us, and they said our game was like fucking awesome. That was their direct quotes. They just walked off, never said anything about it on their site or their news or anything. So yeah, now we know. What an experience.
Well, with the Rift, they can't see what you're doing. You're getting like, that's
Selfie in that. they came up and they had the badges and so we made a reservation. I didn't know who they were. They didn't introduce themselves. People were like, "Can we take pictures with them?" I'm like, "I'm not your dad. Go ahead. I don't care." But all right, things that worked out. So the thing we noticed before PAX is that when you try to reach out and talk to companies, no one's going to care. They might not even respond. But when you have a booth at PAX, they'll come to you because that means that either A, you got something that's working and people are paying for it, or B, you had the balls to actually pay it out of your own pocket. We had Sony stop by our booth. They were trying to recruit us for PlayStation VR. The Intel guys have been working with their face scanning technology. They want us to do stuff with them. We chatted with the AMD guys, Astro, EVGA. VR Zoom is a like VR thing they're doing. Of course, XDR PC, they're awesome. They gave us that loaner rig. Helm Systems, another VR company. Lightning Rock, another one in Australia this time. And this awesome icon right here that's Asking Indie Studios. They're the other indie dev that was right next to us. We met a ton of Twitch streamers, but the problem with a lot of Twitch streamers is like, for game development, when you're indie, Twitch streamers are really important. But when they go to like conventions like that, they tend to not have special badges. So like you might meet them at a Twitch event, but then when they're in the convention, they're facing the crowd, you don't recognize them. So that's what we were trying to tell them, like, hey, you come by our booth tomorrow, because we met them at some Twitch events that were afterwards to network. And come by and grab us, we'll get you an appointment. But we didn't see them. So the emails like, hey, we stopped by, but you guys were really slammed, so we don't want to bother you. Like, no, you should have bothered us. Free advertising is great. I believe that's it. All right.
So they were streaming while they were at PAX.
Some of them were. A lot of them were just like, you know what it means by to be a Twitch partner. So anyone could be a streamer on Twitch. However, if you're a big name, that means you're a partner. I'm turning this light off.
It's not necessarily a big name. If you get about 500 followers, they will ask you, or you can ask them to get partnered. And that means you can basically get subscriptions from the users. So for like $5 a month or whatever, users will pay you. You get to skip like their ads and stuff.
You also
like that.
get like half of the advertising revenue.
You get half of that.
And you have to also be, the ones we talked to, you said you have to have a dedicated schedule. Like you are on this times every week without them. And so it's getting Twitch streamers to play your game is free advertising. Especially when they have like thousands and thousands of people watching them play your game. Right. So that's kind of like back in the day, you want TV commercial spots. Nowadays, you want Twitch streams. So, what other questions I have for you guys? I told you I try to keep my presentation short. Our rule is that if it's over 5 minutes, no one's going to pay attention.
Do they have any rule for having any sort of things that are out, like so you get a monolith or something like that?
Oh yeah, it was a huge, like I think it was 100-foot ceiling, and I think you were allowed to have, you could actually hang like massive banners from the ceiling. I think it was Twitch themselves. They brought a jumbotron in, like the ones you'd see in a football stadium, hung that from the ceiling above their booth. So because they were
a monolith, I mean like a shape, sort of.
like a
statue.
Yeah, they do that too.
You can
You can do whatever you want.
It just has to fit within your booth, right?
Yeah, the rule is that whatever space you have that space, and I think 50 feet lower. So as long as you're not over that height, it's fine. You can go over that height if you want to pay extra. Is what they send us in the packet.
Yeah, total for the entire.
Yeah.
What was the total for the entire?
The total cost?
Yeah. Well, not the total cost that they gave you.
Total cost is it was take off $60 off that. It was $1,760. Because like these top 4 red numbers is everything we had to pay for, and that was basically all the rental fees. Yeah.
How big was the largest booth you could get?
I believe it's 100 by 100. Actually, I have the PDF packet with me. If you guys want to go through it and see what it would cost, it's insane price. I don't have my phone. I think
Gotta be at least 10 grand.
I think 10 grand at least. But But they offered tons of services. Like they would also like you could send them a design and they would print on site a poster for you and mount it in your booth, like freestanding poster stands. They would you could pay for vacuum services to come clean out your booth. You could they actually had pre-made booth designs. You could just pick one and they would build the booth for you. So you would just show up and it's done.
That's nice.
But it's not cheap. I mean, it's like I said, they're the only game in town. You're not allowed to use competitors. They set their prices what they want. So I wish I had it on my phone handy, but I think the packet is like a 50 meg packet. I'm pretty sure my phone would crash trying to stream it through the Wi-Fi in real time. Any other questions?
I was wondering if it would be worth it to get like a Mid-South Game Devs booth to have like all of us
Yes.
in it.
In my opinion, as long as you're okay paying for a large booth size, that's what the producers do. Tiny Build started out, I think they were like one indie team, and then they started just eating other indie devs. Now they're Tiny Build, the producer. And they have this one, I think their booth this year was huge. Yeah, it was like 15 by 15 or 20 by 20, but it just had like 10 games in it. You like walk around and just, it's like, you go to Best Buy, you see like those like freestanding kind of game consoles. They just had a ton of those, with all the games that they were showing off.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Upcoming budget, I mean, for something for fun, what's the maximum sort of upside
For what?
for any project, doesn't matter the platform,
I'll answer that question later, because I don't think it's related to the PAX South. So yeah.
It's not really a question. You might want to elaborate on what all the streamers said about the whole Indians Hell line.
Oh yeah, see, that's one of the things we were joking along because like we're just 3-brand team, and we're like, oh yeah, we're indie as hell. You know, we're the devs. We're not paying people because we're trying to be like the man that people like. A lot of people like that, but some streamers actually did it. They said like some people that is bad, like they assume indie's a bad word, and other people liked it because people like having we were the lead developers. Ask us any questions, we'll show you where the game breaks. On the other hand, other people are like, oh, indies, that means it's bad. So be cautious. That's a good word to use. Be cautious how you use it. Because the line, indie as hell is what they said, makes it sound bad. So, any other questions? Like for the teacher. Okay. All right. That's it.